Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Elevenses series presented by Google Partners. I'm Richie Reynolds. I'm an agency development manager in the UK market.
And hey folks, my name's Huey Zuleta. I'm an agency account strategist, also in the UK market.
So today, guys, is the kick-off episode where we're going to have a look at preparing for peak. This is the first episode, and there's going to be a sequential episodes looking at different product areas and helping you guys preparing for peak. And what I mean by peak is the fluid and non-fixed period between November and December, where we do see an increasing amount of traffic and activity happening for all the retail clients that we have and beyond, as we're going to see. So what we're going to do is going to split it into two today, guys. So first of all, we're going to have a look at trends, have a look back at last year's trends, see if there's any insights we can gain by that, and then have a quick forecast into our crystal ball for 2017. And then we're going to have a look at tips. We've got one tip on a few of our core product areas. But Huey, how many days to Black Friday? How many days to the kick-off to the madness?
We're discussing this earlier. I think it's 79 sleeps now.
And counting. He has this above his bed, and he rips it down. And right beside it is how many days left for Christmas.
And so 79 days until that, the carnage begins. Look at it. I mean, where was that? That was your mum's grocery store down in Bray last year.
Yes.
Carnage.
Manic. We were selling shirts like this and people just were gunning for them.
But the honest question people do ask us is, when do we see queries pick up?
Yeah.
And I guess it depends what queries you're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're like me, it's Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas, and you're searching from August. But for the majority of people, Mariah Carey song searches start around the 15th. Mm-hmm. They peak around the 24th, and then thank God they drop off. So that could be one gauge of when Christmas begins. I guess another one could be when the searches for Christmas tree on Google UK start to pick up, and maybe that's around the 1st of December.
Yeah, quite early. I also get a little kick out of the fact that there's a spike right up until Christmas Day for the last minute Larrys out there, like myself and Huey.
Completely. And ones that's pretty steady all the way through, that kind of peaks the earliest, you'd say, is those searches for gifts. And I think that gives you a good indication of when retailers need to start waking up to this increased traffic.
Absolutely.
So put them side by side. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Some different gauges, some different ideas of when it might pick up. But let's delve a little deeper into those trends, what we saw last year. And I think firstly, it's important to just make the point, and I'm sure you're already aware of this, folks, Black Friday has been around in the UK for a few years now, but it's shifted. And with each year, it's changed. Firstly, it's not a day anymore. It's not the 25th of November. It's a whole week at the very least.
Yeah.
It's also a massive event. Around 1.2 billion was spent online in the UK last year, and that increased year on year by about 12%. And finally, it's not just retail. I know we focus on retail today, and this will be retail specific, this particular hangout on air, but it's gone into all industries. It's lawyers, it's finance firms, it's gone throughout, and it's almost the Black Fridayization of everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we were chatting about last year as well, like Ryanair, Aer Lingus, a lot of travel companies, and for the first time really did dip their toe into it. And I think it'd be interesting to see what happens this year. As we said, that 12% year-on-year growth, there's nothing that suggests us that's not going to be the same, which means where's that growth going to come from? Both existing retailers as well as, I suppose, a few other verticals getting involved in the game.
And I think it's interesting, if you look at existing retailers, and actually the biggest online retailer, Amazon, they've taken on board this idea of it's not a day, it's a whole week, and they've taken that to 2 weeks.
And if we were to take that in isolation and look at it there, you think, look, they might be jumping the gun a little early.
Yes.
But all the research, which we're going to go through now, suggests that they were pretty much spot on. That's not when just research kicks in, but as well as purchasing behavior kicks in.
One retailer who I think has gone a little early is Selfridges. They opened their Christmas store on the 31st of July. I mean, they are one of the biggest superstores in London, so maybe they've knows something there. But I mean, that seems Christmas in July. It's too early for me.
When will it stop?
When will it stop? All year round. And so I think the point you wanted to make here was it's an online event, isn't it?
Yeah, although it is, there's still a gargantuan amount of sales made in store. What we see is that 4/5 between the different channels you can see on the slide here, guys, 4/5 of all the research is done online. So that is for the huge amount of online shopping that happens, as well as for the people that don't mind bumping elbows and getting on the ground, getting involved in the trenches and trying to find deals in stores. The initial research is done online.
Completely. And I think what we find after that is actually for this particular retail event, people kind of like to shop online as well. I think the breadth of choice they get and the comfort from their own homes and the delivery options that retailers now offer, I think means around 2/3 of people prefer, in the surveys we've done, prefer to shop purely.
And as we said, as we have more and more partners get involved in it, like a Ryanair, like a Aer Lingus, when you are at home, I think this enables you to get involved and to be a bit more flexible. And we're going to be talking about flexibility from an advertiser and a business standpoint, but I think users, customers like the flexibility of being able to shop across a wide berth of stores.
Completely. And so I think one of the key points we'd like to make as well today, if we haven't already, is it starts earlier and earlier. Be ready in September, in October. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on a lot of traffic. And so from what we found and from what other surveys we've looked at, around half of UK consumers last year, they completed their Christmas shopping by Black Friday. So 50% of your consumers could be gone a month before Christmas. Important to be wary of. And it's not just by November, around 40% are researching by Halloween. So in October, this behavior is already taking place.
I envy their organization.
We'd be last minute Larrys. Right? And so it's not just Google, it's not just us, it's other third parties as well.
This is fascinating, guys. So if you look in the dark blue, this is showing the increase in year-on-year growth, comparing 2016 versus 2015. And this is just traffic growth. And when we see in the lighter blue, then in the turquoise, we're seeing the year-on-year growth for the same period, looking at sales. And although we're seeing a healthy, considered amount of interest, as far as early as October, what's kind of shocking there is that there's 4 times the amount, the increase in year-on-year conversions. Again, just really hammering down that point. It's not just that people are interested in the products and in the deals, but they're much more closer and more willing to pull the trigger if those deals are available.
Yes, yeah. So that's Hitwise, and they just listen. They're a website listening company, and so this is
exactly. So as what this is going to be all this is all channels. So this isn't just specifically looking at Google properties. This is direct traffic as well as search and shopping, etc.
Fantastic. And so I think a tactic we want to give you at this point, just to pause and digest this slide here. So this is showing us retail search data in the UK last year, and this is showing queries, the red line. And it's showing when they spike and peak. And then it's also showing that alongside CPCs and when they tend to get most expensive. CPC is the blue line. And so what you can see straight away, and what you'll notice, is there's a slight mismatch. So when queries peak in late December and also around Black Friday, that's actually when you tend to find pretty good value in terms of CPCs. And then conversely, when CPCs tend to peak, that's when the query volume just isn't there. So if you're a retailer, I think what this is saying is be a little bit savvy. Don't just assume you have to invest over those competitive periods. Maybe go early, maybe go late with your pushes, your ad pushes, and try and find a bit of value in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you just want to find the areas here where the red line is above the blue line, and this is a general retail a graph. But have a look back at your own data last year and see if there's trends, and be agile enough to adjust if there is different trends this year. I'll give you an example. So when we have when Hitwise were in and we were chatting, myself and you were chatting to them, we seen that if you see that massive red spike just at the Boxing Day sales, that wasn't there the year before. The queries weren't there, and they even said it, like, in the way they were branded, it was last year was a renaissance for Black Friday. It wasn't just a case of robbing from Peter to give to Tom, that this time that there was additional queries and additional interest and activity post Christmas. And if you were just to go work off the year previously, companies wouldn't have been in a position to take advantage of that increased queries.
Completely. And so just moving on from that, it's earlier, but it's also mobile. And so what we saw for the first time in retail in the UK last year in that period was over half of queries on Google search came from a mobile device. And that was because there was a 34% year-on-year growth in mobile queries. And that's something we'd expect to continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could be closer to 60% this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the next graph shows it's not just the traffic that is changing as well, that mobile is not just a research vehicle, more and more and increasingly so, it's becoming a platform for people to purchase on. And we've seen quite a significant jump last year, 14% increase in conversions on mobile compared to the year previously. So it's quite powerful, not just the queries, but the conversions are kind of following suit.
And as mobiles get bigger, they get quick, connectivity gets better. Yeah, this is something we only expect to improve and increase.
Absolutely. Like every retailer knows now that they have to have an effective experience for their users, but whether that's on desktop or whether that's on mobile. And I think that's a big catalyst. And I expect this to even jump, probably even more so, considering there's been a big focus in the industry on it so far in 2017.
Completely. Let's talk Turkey. What are the key takeaways? What should you remember from that little snapshot into trends this year and last year? Well, look, I think it's online. Consumers are researching and purchasing there. It starts earlier and earlier. Please be prepared within the next few weeks with your activity. Go early, go late. Be flexible, I think, is the main point there. It's all mobile, we know that. And then as Richie said, be agile, be flexible. As I said, be willing to adapt budgets, to change your strategy. Just keep your finger to the pulse of how consumers are treating this iteration of peak.
Completely.
And so moving off the trends, looking to the tips.
Yeah, guys, so this is more so just kind of teeing you up as focus areas that to start you guys thinking now as you're devising your Q4 strategies. And as you said, we're going to be doing specific Elevenses on each of these, but the one point we want to get across in each, and that's what we're going to go through now with six little tips. So probably our biggest focus point from now to the rest of the year is going to be around search audiences. And as opposed to getting caught in the weeds regards bid adjustments and really granular kind of AdWords talk, so like what it is it's essentially treating your different core audiences based on their propensity, on how valuable they are to you. That's as simple as that is. And if we have a look at all the audience, the traffic that you would have previously received and how that's changed over time. Now we've got remarketing traffic as well as combined with customer match. So this is blending both Google data as well as your own data you import into your account. You're able to adjust and change not just your bids to make sure you prioritize those different types of audiences. We're also able to change your messaging based on whether they've interacted with your brand before. Really powerful stuff. On top of that then, guys, we've got lookalike lists. So this isn't just trying to find people who look similar to your existing customers, but it's even more specific now with the launch of similar audience for search early on this year. So that's where it tries to identify people who have the same searching behavior of your core audiences, and you're able to target those more aggressively. Really, really powerful stuff. A simple demographic data, being able to adjust bids based off that.
That's gender, age, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And then probably what's going to be the Christmas cherry on top, which we expect to launch in the next couple of weeks, is in-market data as well, where you're able to target people based on their searching behavior related to particular products.
And so what we're saying with this slide is that initial grey box, that's all the PPC traffic going through AdWords. And what we're encouraging you to do is try and make sure as much of the traffic that you get, many clicks as you have, has some sort of audience targeting layered around it. The idea being, if you know who's behind that query, that's valuable. You can optimize better off that and so on. And
that is not just going to give you a better return on investment, but then that opens the doors for you to get involved in different auctions that previously weren't viable. So you've got both ROI and growth there. I don't think anyone needs convincing on audiences. I just think probably it's a good time to take stock to make sure that you got and do a housekeeping session to make sure you have those remarketing lists applied across the board with bid adjustments, prioritizing those different audience segments.
My ask here would be, at the very, very least, to make sure you have an all visitors 180-day list applied.
Without doubt.
A previous converters, and if you're a retailer, a basket abandoners. And then now similar audiences is out of beta to have the lookalike list of those applied. And that's pretty simple segmentations you can do today.
Absolutely.
And so our second tip there, Rich, how about measuring correctly? moving beyond last click, this is a word you'll hear a lot from Google now, and encouraging you to value every touch point within AdWords on a user's journey to converting. So rather than just that last, typically brand click, why don't we look at the mobile, the generic click that got them there? And so take this graph here as your Christmas peak conversions, and you'll notice they spike on Black Friday, probably on a brand term. But actually, if we move away from the last click and we move to, say, data-driven attribution, that's maybe what it looks like. Data-driven attribution, that's probably the flagship measurement tool we're encouraging people to move to within AdWords at the moment. That dynamically looks at each individual conversion path and assigns value to each individual touch point on there. So unique rather than rule-based. And what you can immediately appreciate here, folks, is because you have that better data, you have more signals, you essentially have better bidding and budget decisions. And what we find is that people who move from last click to data-driven have a 5% increase in conversions.
Yeah, and like that's going to be accentuated during this peak time when there is more conversions. Hugh, there's going to be some small advertisers that won't have the conversion data within the account now to opt into data-driven attribution. What would your 2 cents be for them?
So if that is the case, folks, then what I would advise you instead is to look at one of our more intelligent rule-based ones. So maybe position-based or time decay. Both options you can change straight away. It takes 2 minutes within your AdWords conversion actions section, and you can make that switch there.
Yeah, and as we say, this elongated purchasing journey means there's more fragmented touch points. I think that's, if you can't opt into data-driven attribution, at least having some sort of model which is valuing stuff at that earlier stage is really essential to understand the success of your campaigns during the period. And
so we've segmented your audience, we're measuring correctly. What are we doing next, Rich?
Smart bidding is, I suppose, if you caught us at the water cooler, myself in here, myself and you would burn the ear off. We're talking about not just smart bidding, but our whole suite of AI machine learning products. This is one that's revolutionized and changed since over the last couple of years. And we've even seen that again with Target ROAS version 2 being announced and rolled out in the next month or two. And because what we essentially want you guys to think of this is that there's thousands of signals which go into the likeliness to win a particular auction and for that to be the right auction for you to enter in. Think of Google data, where they are, the context of the search, who's typing in, what they're interested in, all these different things that which have to be taken into consideration. And imagine from a manual standpoint, you trying to weigh all these up and identify what the perfect bid is for that, and then do that thousands of times a day for each individual auction. It's just not possible. I think the central issue is here, Huey, is that the needle is an increasingly larger haystack.
Yeah, and I was struggling to even find the right haystack before.
So, guys, what we would say is it's not just the technology from a smart bidding perspective, which makes it worth your while to definitely try this, to turn data from a challenge to an opportunity. As well as this, there's a few really nice product releases over the last few years, like drafts and experiments, which means you're able to trial 50-50 split tests, what you're currently doing versus smart bidding. When you're attributing correctly, you can see which works better. And as we're coming into peak now, you have a huge amount of conversion data. There's definitely enough time to get this. And I think this will be a really kind of key tool to have going into the busy period.
Completely. Now, a key point, which I don't think we need to dwell on for any retailers, but make sure your inventory is shown. It's amazing how many people have something like 20-25% of their whole product feed disapproved, and it'll be for minor reasons. Maybe they won't have the right GTIN, or they won't have a title, or whatever else. So please, folks, spend a bit of time just going into your merchant center, reviewing your Google product feed, making sure you have as much of your inventory shown as possible. I don't think we need to dwell on this one for too long.
No, absolutely essential. It's so important, but
often overlooked.
Yeah, even, and especially, as you said, for simple reasons often.
And now, knowing that everything's going to be mobile, surely we need a quick M site.
Yeah. So, guys, I think what's interesting, by no means are myself and Hugh in any way developers. When we do have strategy sessions, sometimes with our clients, we do bring in developers. And I think one of the things that amazed us is that the tools that they use are some of the tools which we try to use, like with simple tools, which are free and open and available to everyone. Test my site, webpage.org, to compare your site speed versus your competitors. You have full access to this. And I think the same tools that our developers use. And I think a key thing to remember, guys, is you are driving the marketing strategy for your businesses, for your clients. But even if you're bringing the best traffic, the best customers, and you have you've done all the previous tips, if they get to the site and it's a poor site, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like it's like Lewis Hamilton driving in a Cinquecento and expecting him to win Formula One Grand Prix. It's not gonna happen.
Completely. And I think a nice thing, guys, to remember as well is when you drop one of your URLs into these tools, often the changes to make a big impact to speed are very small. They don't need to be whole site overhauls. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big cost. So small changes make a big impact.
Low hanging fruit.
And so the final thing is moving beyond search. If 79% of time online is now spent outside of search, what are you doing to re-engage and prospect and retarget customers when they're across the web? Mm-hmm. And so here, guys, is a really easy 5-point plan for how you can set up a high performance last click GDN strategy. This is from one of our GDN experts, and it starts with dynamic remarketing.
Yeah.
It then looks at just general remarketing to people who have visited over the last 180 days, moving to smart display campaigns, moving to affinity ads, and then finally customer match Gmail ads. So another form of intelligent remarketing there.
Really like that. Great blend of understanding your re-engagement activity and your prospect activity, and understanding where you guys should value on that.
Completely. I can't imagine most people have seen smart display campaigns. We did another episode on them in the Elevenses Hangout series. Mm-hmm. Please do check them out. One of the hottest product releases this year.
Definitely top 3.
And so, folks, those are our top 6 tips.
Yeah.
This isn't the end. This is just the beginning of our peak retail running. We'll be with you all the way on the Elevenses series. We've got a handful of episodes between now and Christmas.
We hope that's whet the appetite and get that basics, get the foundations, take those really initial tips that we've kind of just thrown out there, take them and integrate them. And then when the experts come along for these next 6 focus areas, you'll be in a position to be able to get into those more sophisticated and more advanced strategies to really just take advantage of that peak. The attribution for display one, Hugh, the one that probably jumps out there is probably a must watch. So Eileen, our attribution expert, is going to run that. So Hugh talked about last click display activity and the tools we have there and the campaign formats and types we have there, as well as being able to drive action. She's going to be having a look at, I suppose, other stuff that you can do to both in Google Analytics and in AdWords to evaluate the overall impact of the campaign and how it has, although the touch point at the upper funnel, where it added value further down the funnel.
Exactly. So guys, go to Elevenses website, check it out. The full agenda schedule and previous episodes as well is all there. But from us today, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
ho, ho, ho.
Have a good Christmas.